right inside the very house where I had paid every mortgage installment and raised my daughter to adulthood. That morning, she looked me straight in the face and shouted, "Dad, either obey my husband or get out of this house." The home I had spent a lifetime saving for, the house filled with memories of my late wife, suddenly turned into the place where I was humiliated like a squatter. I didn't get angry, I didn't beg. I simply smiled, picked up my suitcase, and left. Because I knew that when the door closed behind me, the real battle was only beginning. Before I go on, allow me to thank you, the one listening now. If you find this story meaningful, please subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Your support is the greatest motivation for me to continue. Now, let me go on. My name is Richard Hale, 66 years old, a man whose entire life was tied to the cold precision of numbers in the tax business. People always said the job was dry, but it fed my family and built the 2-story house on Fairmount Hill, South Salem, where the windows looked out on old oak groves, and every autumn leaves fell like a golden carpet. That was once the dream Eleanor, my wife, and I built together. But she has been gone for 5 years, and the house has become the place of humiliation I never imagined. Saturday afternoon, I came back from Safeway. My hands were full of plastic bags, the straps cutting into my palms, heavy with milk and bread. The last light of day filtered through the trees, glowing gold across the porch, a glow that once gave me peace, but now felt unbearably harsh. As I opened the door, the sight froze me. Derek, my daughter's husband, was sprawled across the brown leather armchair. Not just any chair, but the last gift Eleanor had given me before she died. Derek's bare feet rested on the armrest, a Miller Lite dangling in his hand, his belly rising and falling with lazy breaths. The remote sat on his stomach, while the TV blasted a football game that had him cheering. He didn't even turn around when he heard the door. He just barked an order like a master to a servant. "Hey, Richard, grab me another." "Bud Light, it's in the fridge." I hadn't even set the bags down yet. The plastic dug deeper into my reddened palms. I whispered, forcing calm. "Derek, I just got home." "Let me put these away first." He turned his head, smirking. "What's the big deal? You're standing there anyway. I'm comfortable. You helping out won't kill you." A chill slid into my chest. I looked at the Bud Light cans stacked in the fridge, the beer I'd bought with my retirement money for him, though I never liked drinking. Shame pierced me sharply and deeply. I clenched my fists and breathed hard. "Derek, this is my house. I'm not your servant." Just then, Amanda, my daughter, stepped out from the kitchen, hair tied back, dish towel still in her hand. Her eyes flicked between us, then landed on me with annoyance. "Dad, stop it! It's just a beer. Don't make it a scene. Hand it to him and be done. It's not worth the argument." I searched her eyes for a trace of the little girl who once clung to me in thunderstorms, trembling but sure that with Dad she was safe. But all I found was coldness. Derek shot up, towering over me. He moved closer, reeking of beer. "Listen to my wife, Richard. This is our house. If you want to live here in peace, know your place. If not—" He left the sentence hanging, but the smirk said enough. Amanda stood at his side, her voice firm as if rehearsed. "Dad, I'll be blunt. Either you cooperate and listen to Derek, or you move out." The room fell silent. I heard my heartbeat pounding in my ears, the tick of the clock like drops falling into an abyss. This wasn't sulking. This was an ultimatum. I stared at my daughter. She didn't flinch, only mirrored her husband's arrogance. In that instant, I knew the years of sacrifice. $160,000 for tuition, $35,000 for the wedding, $100,000 for the down payment on this house, had all dissolved into nothing. I drew a long breath, steadied my voice, and let each word cut clean. "All right, I'll go." Derek smirked in triumph. Amanda looked startled, expecting me to cry or plead. But I did neither. I turned toward the stairs, leaving the grocery bags on the floor. The sunset filled the room, and my footsteps echoed on the wooden floor. Every step declared, if they chose to cast me out, they would learn to live without my shelter. At the top of the stairs, I paused. The wedding photo of Eleanor and me hung on the wall, her eyes gentle. I smiled faintly, not of joy, but of bitter clarity. In the closet, the black suitcase waited. I pulled it down, dusted it off. The wheels rumbled across the floor. Clothes, medicine, reading glasses, and an old photo of Eleanor, packed carefully like a quiet ritual. When I rolled the suitcase out, Derek was back in the chair, but unease flickered across his face. Amanda pressed her lips, eyes wavering, as if even she hadn't expected me to truly leave. I didn't look back. I just dragged the suitcase downstairs, opened the door, and stepped out. The last light gilded the rooftops. Down the street, an elderly couple strolled hand in hand. My eyes burned, not from the wind. My old Buick sat in the driveway. I shoved the suitcase into the trunk, slid into the seat, and turned the key. The engine groaned alive, faithful as ever. I pulled away from the house I had built, never looking back. Because in that moment, I understood. The battle had only begun. I drove out of Fairmount Hill, down the familiar streets of Salem. Streetlights blinked awake, night settling, warm yellow windows glowing from cozy homes. I had once dreamed of spending old age like this, surrounded by family, children laughing in the yard. Instead, it was only the rumble of the Buick and the silent suitcase behind me, proof that I had been cast out of my own home. I merged onto Interstate 5, drove a few more miles until a neon sign flickered. Silver Fir Lodge, vacancy. A cheap motel, walls faded, sign sputtering. I pulled in, checked into room 12. The key a worn piece of metal instead of a card. Inside was only a double bed with faded sheets, wrinkled curtains failing to block the glow of the parking lot lights. The small wooden table was pushed against the wall. A rickety chair and a bulky CRT television sat idle. I set my suitcase down and dropped onto the edge of the bed. The mattress sagged, the springs groaned, and the smell of disinfectant mixed with dampness. No laughter of children, no warmth of family. Only me, a lonely shadow in a cold room. I opened the suitcase and pulled out an old photo of Eleanor. It was taken in the summer of 1984 at Newport Beach. She wore a pale blue dress, her hair blowing in the sea breeze, her smile radiant. I placed the frame on the table, turned on the yellow lamp above it, as if searching for a piece of light from the past. But the more I looked, the sharper my chest ached. I remembered every dollar I had spent on Amanda. $160,000 for her college tuition, so she could get an interior design degree in Portland, which she abandoned halfway through. $35,000 for her wedding, where I scrambled to cover the share her in-laws failed to provide. Then $100,000 for the down payment on the house that I've now been cast out of. On top of that, years of car insurance, utilities, groceries, all for my retirement and pension. I thought it was love, responsibility, a father holding a family together after losing his wife. But it all turned me into nothing more than a walking wallet in their eyes. I sat in silence, my mind spinning. The humiliation of the afternoon still burned like a brand. My daughter Amanda, once the child who clung to my hand during storms, now stood by her husband and said coldly, "Either you cooperate or you leave." I tried to hold back tears, but my eyes stung. The deepest wound wasn't Derek. It was Amanda's gaze, firm and without hesitation. I hung my shirt on the chair, lay back on the sagging bed, staring at the cracked ceiling. In the hall, strangers' footsteps, doors slamming, the hollow laughter of a TV next door. I had never felt so alone. That night, I barely slept. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw Derek in Eleanor's armchair, feet propped up as if he had claimed my memories. Amanda's voice echoed like a blade. "This is our house." I turned restlessly, glanced at the glowing clock. 2 a.m. I sat up, pulled my expense notebook from the suitcase. An old habit of the job. I always recorded every bill, every payment. Numbers lined the page under the motel's yellow lamp. Mortgage, car insurance, utilities, credit cards, all in my name, all paid from my account. I stared at the figures, and a realization struck. If they dared to treat me like a burden, then I could treat them as adults who must bear their own weight. A thought flashed, fragile yet sharp as lightning. I would cut every financial tie feeding them. I would let Derek and Amanda taste life without my umbrella. But then anger gave way to fear. What would happen to Amanda? Could she survive debt, or would she sink with Derek? I buried my face in my hands, torn between fatherly love and self-respect. Outside, the neon vacancy flickered red, casting a dim light into the room. I knew this night was only the beginning of a long war, one not just against Derek, but against my own blood. I closed my eyes and whispered to Eleanor's photo, "My love, I have to do this, no matter how much it hurts." Morning came, Oregon's pale light seeping through the wrinkled curtains. I sat up, my neck stiff, my back sore from the sagging mattress. A cup of bitter coffee from the vending machine steamed on the table. Its taste was harsh, but this morning it sharpened my mind. On the table, my expense notebook lay open from last night. Scribbles read, mortgage $1,250, utilities $350, groceries average $500, insurance $280, credit card payment $450, all withdrawn from my pension. I had carried Amanda and Derek's family on my back for years, believing it was love, duty, what Eleanor would have wanted. But last night, for the first time, I saw the truth. My love had become shackles, and they saw me as a servant. I inhaled deeply and picked up my phone. My hand trembled as I dialed the bank, where I had worked for over 30 years. The automated voice droned, "For assistance, please enter the account number." I keyed it in and waited. A woman's voice answered, "First Oregon National, this is Lucy. How can I help you?" Slowly, I said, "This is Richard Hale. I want to cancel all automatic payments linked to the address 487 Maple Drive, Salem. Account ending in 4732. Silence, then Lucy hesitated. "Mr. Hale, these payments have been active for 6 years. Are you sure you want to cancel all of them?" I closed my eyes firm. "I'm sure. Effective today." Keystrokes clicked. Then, "Yes, sir. Payments terminated effective today. A confirmation will arrive by mail within 3 days." I noted the transaction number and hung up. A long breath left me, strangely light, as if chains had been cut. But this was only the start. I opened my laptop and logged into my auto insurance account. 2 names appeared: Derek Thompson, a 2016 Ford F-150 Amanda Hale, a 2018 Honda Civic. I had paid premiums for both for 4 years, more than $12,000, though I never drove them. I clicked Remove Vehicle. A warning popped up. "Are you sure you want to remove these vehicles?" I pressed yes. A green message appeared. Removal successful. Effective immediately. I leaned back, lighter again, but not done. I pulled my Visa Platinum from my wallet and called the credit card company. "I want to revoke the authorized user, Amanda Hale." The operator asked, "After removal, she won't be able to transact." "When should this take effect?" "Immediately." Keystrokes, then confirmation. I did the same with my MasterCard, then my Costco card. Within 2 hours, every tentacle feeding from my accounts was severed. Each call lifted another stone from my chest. By noon, I sat in the motel room with a stack of confirmations, each one proof I was no longer bound. Proof that soon Amanda and Derek would face the storm alone. I sipped the bitter coffee, looked at Eleanor's photo. "Do you see?" I whispered. "I'm taking myself back." The phone buzzed. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. A rough male voice. "Is this Richard Hale?" "Yes. Who is this?" "This is Tony from Northwest Collections. I need to discuss the debts owed by Derek Thompson. He listed 487 Maple Drive as his contact address." I chuckled. Listen, Tony, Derek Thompson doesn't own that house. He isn't on the deed. He's just a guest. I've canceled all ties to that address. If you're looking for him, check his job at Valley Auto on Highway 22. That's where he'll be. Silence then. Understood? Thank you, sir. I hung up, my chest tight with a new storm. So Derek not only drained my money, but he also carried debts elsewhere, hiding behind my address. I opened my laptop, started a new file. Derek Thompson dossier. I recorded every transaction, every call, every confirmation. My old trade had taught me, evidence is the sharpest weapon, and this time I would not just defend, I would strike. The sky dimmed. I shut the laptop and stepped outside. April air in Salem was cold, wind sighing through the pines. I stood in the empty lot, watching cars streak down the highway, my heart strangely calm. Yesterday I was cast out, suitcase in hand. Today I severed the ties that fed the man who humiliated me. Amanda and Derek didn't know yet, but soon, when bills arrived, when insurance expired, when cards were declined, they would understand. The umbrella was gone, and the storm was coming. The next morning, Oregon's pale light slipped through the worn curtains. I sat up on the motel bed, my neck stiff, my back aching from the sagging mattress. A cheap cup of coffee from the vending machine in the lobby steamed on the table, its bitterness harsh and familiar. But today that bitterness sparked the clarity I needed. On the table, my expense notebook still lay open from the night before. Scribbled lines read, mortgage $1,250, utilities $350, groceries average $500, insurance $280, credit card payment $450, all drawn from my pension and retirement funds. I had carried Amanda and Derek's household on my back for years, believing I was doing it out of love, out of duty, out of what Eleanor would have wanted. But last night, for the first time, I admitted the truth. My love had become chains, and they saw me as nothing more than a servant. I took a deep breath and picked up the phone. My fingers trembled as I dialed the bank where I had worked for over 30 years. The automated line droned. To continue, please enter the account number. I followed the prompts, then waited. A woman's voice came on. Hello, First Oregon National. This is Lucy. How may I help you? Slowly, I said. This is Richard Hale. I want to cancel all automatic payments tied to the address 487 Maple Drive, Salem. Account ending in 473 Home 2. There was silence for a few seconds. Then Lucy spoke with hesitation. Mr. Hale, these payments have been active for 6 years. Are you sure you want to cancel them all? I closed my eyes, my voice firm. Yes. Effective today. I heard the tapping of keys, then Lucy confirmed. Understood, sir. Payments will terminate today. You'll receive written confirmation by mail within 3 days. I jotted down the transaction code and hung up. A long breath escaped me, lightening my chest, as though an invisible chain had been cut. But this was only the first step. I opened my laptop and logged into my auto insurance account. 2 names appeared, Derek Thompson, a 2016 Ford F-150, Amanda Hale, a 2018 Honda Civic. I had paid the insurance premiums on both for 4 years, over $12,000, though I never once drove them. I clicked Remove Vehicle. A warning popped up. Are you sure you want to remove these vehicles? I pressed Yes. A green line appeared. Removal successful. Effective immediately. I leaned back, a little lighter still, but I wasn't finished. I pulled my Visa Platinum from my wallet and called the credit card company. I want to revoke the authorized user, Amanda Hale. The representative replied politely. After removal, she won't be able to make transactions. When should this take effect? Immediately. Keystrokes, then confirmation. I repeated the process with my MasterCard, then the Costco card. In just 2 hours, I had cut every tentacle clinging to my accounts. Each call felt like a stone sliding off my shoulders. By noon, I sat in the motel room with a neat stack of confirmation papers. each one proof that I was no longer bound. But I also knew these same papers would soon become Amanda and Derek's nightmare. I took a bitter sip of coffee and glanced at Eleanor's photo on the table. "You see?" I whispered. "I'm taking myself back." The phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Rough male voice. "Is this Richard Hale?" "Yes. Who is this?" "This is Tony from Northwest Collections. I need to speak regarding the debts owed by Derek Thompson. He listed 487 Maple Drive as his contact address." I gave a dry laugh. "Listen, Tony. Derek Thompson doesn't own that house. He's not on the deed. He's just a guest. I've canceled all responsibility tied to that address. If you want him, go to his job at Valley Auto on Highway 22. That's where you'll find him." Silence for a moment, then, "Understood." "Thank you, sir." I hung up, my chest roiling. So Derek not only drained my money, but he was drowning in outside debts, even using my address to dodge collectors. I opened my laptop and started a new file. Derek Thompson dossier. I logged every transaction, every call, every confirmation. My years at the IRS had taught me, evidence is the sharpest weapon, and this time I wouldn't just defend, I would strike. The sky darkened. I shut the laptop and stepped outside. April in Salem was cold, the wind whispering through the pines. I stood in the empty parking lot, watching cars speed down the highway, my heart calm in a way it hadn't been in years. Yesterday I had been cast out, humiliated, suitcase in hand. Today I severed the ties that fed the man who humiliated me. Amanda and Derek didn't know yet, but soon when bills came due, when insurance was void, when their cards were declined, they would realize that the umbrella was gone, and the storm was coming. Sunday evening, I sat in room 12 of the Silver Fir Lodge, laptop open before me. The stack of confirmations from the bank, the insurance company, and the credit card issuers lay neatly arranged. Each paper was a brick in the wall I was rebuilding to protect myself. I leaned back in the rickety chair, looked at Eleanor's photo on the table, and nodded. A peace I hadn't felt in years filled my chest, but it didn't last. My phone buzzed, the screen lit up with a familiar name, Amanda. I let it ring. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. Finally, it went to voicemail. 5 minutes later, Derek called. I ignored it too. By nightfall, 12 missed calls. Amanda's first voicemail was gentle. "Dad, there must be some mistake with the bank. I think the mortgage payment failed. Call me back, okay?" The next message, Derek's voice curt and sharp. "Richard, you need to fix this now. My truck doesn't have insurance anymore. What the hell are you doing? This isn't a game." I listened, then deleted them one by one. That night, the phone kept ringing, cutting through every moment of silence. Monday morning, when I went to the lobby for coffee, my phone showed over 20 missed calls. The voicemail box was full. I sat at the small table by the window, put the phone on speaker, and played them. At first, Amanda tried to keep her voice steady. "Dad, I think there's a misunderstanding. The mortgage hasn't been paid, and the bank called us. Can you check it?" By the fifth message, her tone cracked. "Dad, why was my car insurance canceled? I need to get to work, but I'm afraid to drive. Please call me back." I smiled faintly, not with joy, but with bitter irony. My whole life had been spent protecting her, and now with just a few clicks, her world was unraveling. Then came Derek's messages, his voice swinging between rage and threats. "Richard, you think you're clever? You're ruining our lives. If you don't fix this, I'll tell everyone in town you've lost your mind and can't handle your finances." I leaned back, letting his words wash over me. I'd heard every excuse, every blame-shifting line from debtors during my ARS years. Derek was no different. By noon, the missed calls climbed past 30. One voicemail caught me. Amanda, her voice breaking into sobs. "Dad, the bank said if payment isn't made by Friday, they'll start foreclosure. Don't let this happen. Please, Dad." I froze. my hand hovering over the screen. Part of me wanted to pick up to reassure her, but the memory of that cold ultimatum, the words that cast me out, flashed back. I sighed, hit delete. I had made my choice. By late afternoon, Derek called again, his tone now softened. Feigning reason. Richard, let's talk like men. Maybe I was harsh the other day. But you know we can't skip the mortgage. Call me. We'll work it out. I muted the phone and added a note in the Derek Thompson dossier. April 15th. Derek shifted from threats to bargaining under bank pressure. I knew he didn't want peace. He feared exposure, feared losing his roof. Monday night, I lay on the motel bed, rain tapping on the tin roof. The phone glowed relentlessly, Amanda's final message before midnight. Dad, I don't understand what's happening, but I'm scared. I'm scared of losing everything. Please, say something. I placed the phone face down and closed my eyes. My heart twisted, but reason held me steady. I had compromised long enough. Now it was their turn to face the consequences. Tuesday morning, my phone showed 42 missed calls. I listened to a few. Amanda's voice rose in panic. Dad, Derek says the bank is sending notices. You can't abandon us like this. Derek's voice followed, growling, You want to play stubborn? Fine, but you'll pay for this. I inhaled deeply, opened my laptop, and logged it all. Every voicemail, every threat became evidence, another piece of the case I was building. I allowed myself a real smile this time, because I knew the game had flipped. From the outcast with the suitcase, I had become the one holding the scales. And Amanda and Derek, now they were the ones tasting the panic I had felt that night, walking out of my own home. Wednesday morning, I had just set my coffee cup on the motel table when I heard a knock at the door. It was urgent, insistent. I looked through the peephole. Amanda stood. There, coat rumpled, eyes swollen, Derek loomed behind her, face dark with anger. I opened the door a crack, leaving the chain in place. Amanda rushed forward, her voice trembling. Dad, we need to talk, please. I was silent for a moment, then unlatched the chain and let them in. The cramped room filled instantly with tension. Derek walked in without invitation, taking the only chair, leaving Amanda standing at his side. He opened first, his voice hard. Richard, you've caused enough. Mortgage overdue, car insurance canceled, credit cards shut down. How the hell are we supposed to live? I leaned back against the table, arms folded, my tone calm. I think you live on your own labor, like every other adult. Derek shot up, pointing at me. Don't pull that moral crap. You promised to take care of Amanda, and now you're turning your back, leaving us homeless. You want the neighbors to see us as freeloaders? Amanda touched his arm, signaling him to stop, then turned to me. Her voice broke. Dad, I have news. I'm pregnant. My chest tightened. Amanda inhaled, then went on. I just found out last week. The doctor says I need to stay calm, or it could endanger the baby. Dad, if we lose the house, if I'm this stressed, I could lose the child. Do you want your grandchild gone before it's even born? I looked at her, tears shimmering in her eyes. Memories flooded back, her rushing home to show me an A on her test, or curling into my lap, begging for bedtime stories. Now she stood before me, wielding the word grandchild like a blade. I turned away, my eyes landing on Eleanor's photo on the table. For a heartbeat, my heart softened, but then I saw the timing, too perfect, arriving right after I cut them off. Derek showed no emotion. He only folded his arms, eyes sharp, waiting for my reaction. I sat down on the edge of the bed, my voice slow. Amanda, if you truly are pregnant, I'll cover medical costs. But the mortgage, the cars, the cards, no, those are your responsibilities as a married couple. Derek gave a bitter laugh, cutting in, and who decides what you cover or not? You're old. You're losing your mind. You should let us manage the money. I looked him straight in the eye. I audited hundreds of cases. I know real from fake. In my life, I've never lost count of a single number. Don't mistake me for a fool. Amanda burst into tears, burying her face in her hands. Dad, why are you so hard? This is my baby's life. You always said family comes first. I forced myself steady, my voice low. Family comes first, yes. But family doesn't mean exploitation. If you truly are pregnant, the doctor will confirm. Bring me the paperwork, and I'll help with medical needs. But the rest, you and Derek must handle. Derek snarled. You don't even believe your own daughter? You want her humiliated, begging for a doctor's note? I answered coldly. Yes, if it's the truth, then there's nothing to be ashamed of. The air was thick with tension. Amanda sobbed, turning her face away. Derek yanked her arm, dragging her toward the door, but before leaving he leaned close, whispering with venom, You'll regret this. You think you can just cut us off? Salem's a small town, Richard. People will believe us, not you. The door slammed. I sat still, listening to their footsteps fade. My heart pounded, torn between softness and steel. The father in me wanted to chase her, to hold her, to promise I'd fix everything. But my reason screamed, this was a play, Derek pulling strings. I sighed, picked up Eleanor's photo and whispered, Eleanor, you see, they don't see me as a father anymore, just a backup bank. I lay back on the bed, staring at the cracked ceiling. Rain dripped through the window frame, tapping softly. The question gnawed at me. If Amanda truly was pregnant, could I stay firm? But I knew if I yielded now, everything I had done these past 3 days would collapse. Derek would seize control again, and I'd return to being a servant in my own house. I shut my eyes, letting the torment tear me apart, as if standing between two roads, a father's love and a man's dignity. Friday, I left the motel early and walked through downtown Salem. Spring rain drifted down, the streets damp with scattered leaves. I stopped at Bean and Bloom, the little coffee shop where Eleanor and I used to sit over cappuccinos, talking about retirement dreams. Today I chose a quiet corner against the wall, watching people pass outside. As I stirred my coffee, a familiar voice called, Richard Hale? Didn't expect to see you here. I looked up. It was Tom McAllister, owner of the hardware store where I once bought supplies for repairs. Tom sat down, his face open and friendly. How've you been? I heard you're not at Fairmount anymore. I nodded, avoiding detail, but Tom lowered his voice. Listen, be careful with Derek. He once came to me about being a witness on a loan application. I frowned. What loan application? Tom glanced around, then leaned closer. About 3 months ago, he tried for an equity loan at the local bank, using the Fairmount Hill house as collateral. He bragged he had paperwork proving he was co-owner and asked me to vouch for him. My blood chilled. An equity loan? Against the house in my name? Derek had no legal claim whatsoever. I steadied my voice. Did you see the paperwork? Tom nodded. I did, but it looked like a copy. The stamp was smudged. I didn't sign anything. Later, I heard the bank denied the application as invalid. I sat silent, every word hitting like a hammer. Derek wasn't just freeloading. He had tried to forge documents to steal my house. My suspicions of being treated like a walking ATM were now fact. I thanked Tom, then headed straight to the red brick building of First Oregon Bank, where I had once worked. The scent of oak in the lobby was familiar. Behind the counter stood Bob Kennedy, an old colleague sorting files. His face lit up. Richard? Been a while. Still remember those late nights combing through audits. My voice was low. Bob, I need help. It's about Derek Walsh. His smile faded. He ushered me into a small office, closing the door. I told him briefly Amanda's ultimatum, my leaving, cutting finances, the pregnancy ploy, and my suspicion Derek aimed to seize the house. Bob listened, then nodded. Richard, you're right. This past January, Derek applied for an equity loan, naming the Fairmount property as collateral. I handled the file myself. He submitted documents claiming he was co-owner, with your electronic signature. My blood boiled. A forged signature? Bob nodded. Yes. We ran a title search. Everything was in your name. The system flagged it as fraud and the file was rejected. I still have the copy in our internal archive. Want me to print it for you? My eyes burned with sudden resolve. Print everything. Include the rejection report. 30 minutes later, I held a thick stack of papers. Derek's fraudulent application, a copy of the forged signature, the rejection form stamped fraudulent application. My hands trembled, but not from anger, from the knowledge that I finally had a weapon. I stopped at the post office, mailing a set of copies to the safe deposit box I had kept since retirement. If things escalated, this would be the legal dagger pointed at Derek's throat. As the afternoon waned, I sat at Riverfront Park, watching the Willamette drift by. Children's laughter from the playground stung me with memories. Amanda once running just like that, hair golden in the sun. Now she was so ensnared by Derek, she might even stage a fake pregnancy to corner me. But this time, I wasn't a gullible target. I had proof Derek was a fraud, willing to commit crimes to seize what was mine. I opened my notebook and wrote, April 17th, confirmed Derek filed equity loan with forged documents. Evidence obtained from Bob Kennedy. First Oregon Bank, I underlined it twice. Back at Silver Fir Lodge, my phone lit up. 16 missed calls. Amanda's message played, Dad, Derek hasn't slept from worry. Please restore the mortgage. I can't handle this. I listened, but my heart didn't waver. I had truth in my hands now. I whispered, The game is shifting, Derek. This time you won't just fear losing a house. You'll fear losing your freedom. Saturday afternoon, I went to the small office of Jim Morrison, an old friend who once served as a Salem police officer, now an investigator for Marion County. We had worked together during my IRS days, exchanging notes on tax cases that brushed criminal law. Jim was older, hair grayer, but his eyes were still sharp. He raised his brows as I entered. Richard, sounds like you've got something urgent. I sat and laid it all out. Amanda's ultimatum, my departure, the financial cutoffs, the pregnancy ploy, and especially Derek's forged equity loan with documents Bob had given me. Jim listened, jotting notes. At the loan part, he nodded, not surprised. Derek Walsh's name has popped up before. We've been monitoring him since January. Suspected ties to gambling at Spirit Mountain Casino. My stomach turned. Gambling? Jim lowered his voice. Poker, football bets. He's lost big. We estimate at least $50,000 owed, spread between legal sports books and loan sharks. My veins went cold. I recalled Tony from Northwest Collections, thinking it was minor debt. Derek was sinking far deeper. Jim continued. What's worse, he hasn't just gambled. He's trying to lock in claims to your house, likely planning to invoke adverse possession, squatter's rights. I stiffened. In Oregon, how long does it take? Jim replied, 10 years of continuous open occupancy without challenge. My heart thudded. Amanda and Derek had lived in my house nearly 6 years. 4 more, and Derek might press a claim. Jim sighed. The law's complicated, and since you still pay the mortgage and hold the deed, his odds are slim. But he forged your signature once. He won't hesitate to bend the law again. Sweat prickled on my brow despite the office air. It was worse than I imagined. Not only had I lost my daughter's trust, I had almost lost the legacy Eleanor and I built. My mind flashed to Derek in Eleanor's armchair, smirking. This is our house. His arrogance wasn't just bluster. It was strategy. My voice cracked. Jim, what do I do? Jim's face hardened. Gather everything, fraudulent documents, witness statements, recordings if possible, and most of all, formalize Amanda and Derek's status. No more treating them as family living rent-free. If not, their lawyer could spin it as long-term residents. I nodded, trembling with both fear and anger. Jim gripped my shoulder. Richard, prepare yourself. With creditors and casinos pressing him, Derek may get violent. But you're not alone. I'll help you lock down legal protection. I left into Salem's drizzle. Walking down Commercial Street, my thoughts a storm. Each raindrop felt like a reminder that Derek wasn't just ungrateful, he was calculating, scheming to strip me bare. Back at the motel, I opened my laptop and created a new file. Evidence, adverse possession. I typed, April 19th, information from Jim Morrison, Derek Walsh drowning in gambling debt, approximate $50,000. Sunday night, I saved the file, copied it onto a USB stick, and tucked it into my suitcase. I couldn't sleep. I lay on my back, staring at the cracked ceiling, listening to rain drip outside the motel window. Amanda's tearful face haunted me. Dad, I'm pregnant, but behind her I saw Derek, a liar drowning in debt and fraud. The greatest wound wasn't the house. It was my daughter standing with him, willing to fight me for the sake of a false family dream. Around 3 a.m., I sat up, turned on the lamp, and wrote in my journal, Eleanor, forgive me. I raised our daughter into someone easily manipulated. Now I must do what I should have done long ago, protect our legacy, and let the truth come to light. My hand trembled, but in my chest burned a new flame. Resolve. Derek had played a long con, but he forgot. I am an auditor. My trade is exposing holes in numbers, signatures, and schemes. This time, he is the file under my scrutiny. Sunday morning, I stepped out of Silver Fir Lodge, wind off the Willamette whipping my coat. In my hand was a worn leather case, stuffed with documents. This was no ordinary morning. Today, I would let Salem know the truth. My first stop was the post office. Mrs. Henderson, who managed church mailings, met me at the counter. Her eyes narrowed with concern. Richard, I've been hearing things. Are you all right? I handed her an envelope. Please include this in the community bulletin. Inside was the letter I'd written through the night, listing in detail what I had provided Amanda and Derek over 6 years. $160,000 for tuition, $35,000 for a wedding, $100,000 for a down payment, $1,200 monthly mortgage. No embellishment, just numbers anyone could verify. Mrs. Henderson skimmed it, her mouth falling open. My goodness, I always thought Derek was the provider. But it was you. I only nodded. The truth speaks for itself. Next, I went to Kowalski's hardware store. As soon as I entered, whispers rippled. Tom spotted me and called out, Richard, come here. 3 customers turned. Tom gripped my shoulder, his voice firm. Derek came in the other day, saying you'd gone senile and abandoned your house. But if you want, I'll set the record straight. I opened my case and pulled out photocopies of the fraudulent equity loan Bob had given me. Tom studied the pages, his face reddening. God almighty, he forged your signature? To steal your house? He looked up, raising his voice for all to hear. Folks, Richard isn't crazy. Derek's the fraud. Richard carried them for years, and now they tried to rob him blind. Customers nodded grimly. A middle-aged woman muttered, I'll tell my husband. We can't let Derek smear him anymore. I managed a thin smile. The tide of opinion was turning. At noon, I visited St. Mark's Church. Pastor Williams was arranging his Sunday notes. I handed him a second envelope. Pastor, this holds the full truth. I don't seek gossip, but Derek claims I'm senile. I must defend my name. He read carefully, then met my eyes. Richard, you don't need to justify yourself. But sharing the truth will guide the congregation. I'll speak of it gently so people see what's right. Gratitude welled in me. By afternoon, I sat in Annie's Cafe, where retirees and merchants gathered. Even before my coffee cooled, I heard murmurs. Word is Derek's drowning in gambling debt. Richard's the one who kept them afloat. An old man with a beard shook his head. I saw Derek at Spirit Mountain, losing hand after hand. Now it makes sense. I sipped and smiled faintly. In a small town like Salem, truth traveled fast when bolstered by evidence. Before heading back, my old neighbor Mrs. Patterson called. Richard, today 3 groups knocked at Fairmount. Men in suits, likely the bank. A rough bunch, probably collectors, and even patrol cops. Derek looked furious. The whole block is talking. I thanked her, satisfaction steadying my heart. In 2 days, Derek had gone from braggart to laughingstock. But I wasn't done. That night, I sat at my laptop and posted a long statement on Facebook, attaching scans of receipts and bank papers. I wrote, "I share this not to shame anyone, but to correct lies. For years I supported my daughter's family. Now I ask for only 2 things, respect and fairness." Comments flooded in. "Richard, you owe no one an apology. You've done enough. Time for Amanda to wake up." For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. The next morning, my phone rang. An unfamiliar voice. "Mr. Hale, this is Mike Brennan, manager at Mountain View Auto where Derek works. Customers have complained. They don't want to deal with him. I need to ask, are your claims true?" I answered flatly. "Every number is true. Every document is in my hands." Silence then. "Thank you. I can't keep an employee tarnishing our business. I'll be letting him go today." I set down the phone, breathing deep. Salem had chosen sides. Not Derek, not Amanda, but truth. For the first time in years, I felt allies at my back. By Tuesday, as I placed my breakfast tray on the motel table, my phone buzzed with messages. Not from Amanda, not from collectors, but from friends, neighbors, even former colleagues. "Richard, are you okay? Derek is spreading lies about you." My heart pounded as I opened Facebook. On Amanda's page, a new post appeared. "Please pray for our family. My father is suffering a mental breakdown, manipulated by someone, and has cut off all support, abandoning his daughter, an unborn grandchild. He is no longer of sound mind, but is being used against us." Below, Derek had shared it, adding, "Heartbreaking to see a once great father become heartless, abandoning his pregnant daughter." I didn't want exposure, but I couldn't stay silent any longer. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. So they had played their last card, smear my name with the image of a senile old man, and the pregnancy trick, which I had suspected from the start, was now paraded before the public as an emotional shield to win pity. Reading the comments, I saw some sympathizing with Amanda. Poor thing, pregnant and abandoned by her father, but there were sharper voices too. If he's senile, how could he keep every receipt? How could he write letters with exact numbers? I smiled faintly. The town was divided, but I was no longer alone. At noon, I stopped at Annie's Coffee. The moment I entered, Derek's voice rang from a corner, loud and cutting. He abandoned his pregnant daughter. He's delusional, manipulated. Do you think a retired old man on Social Security could have paid all that? Lies. I stood at the door, every eye turning toward me. Derek flushed, but pressed on. He's obsessed with control. He never let us live on our own. When we demanded independence, he left, then fabricated stories to destroy me. I walked closer, my tone steady. "Derek, if I fabricated, then where did the equity loan application with my forged signature come from? Where did the bank's fraud rejection notice come from? And how will you explain $50,000 in debt at Spirit Mountain Casino?" The cafe went dead quiet. Derek stammered, then barked, You made it up! You can't prove it!" I pulled from my case a photocopy stamped by the bank, holding it high. "Here's proof. And if you want more, we can bring in Jim Morrison. You know him. Ex-Salem police. Do you want to argue here or in court?" Murmurs rippled. A man muttered, "He always bragged about winning at poker. Turns out he's buried in debt." A woman sighed. "Amanda's pitiful, but she chose the wrong man." Derek snarled, "You'll regret siding with him. I'll sue you for defamation." I smiled coldly. "Go ahead." Every document is preserved, locked in a postal safe box. Each day you delay, the truth spreads wider. Derek glared venom, then stormed out, the cafe door slamming. I sat down and ordered coffee. The room exhaled. An old man at the next table nodded. "You did right, Richard. This town isn't blind. We can see who's real and who's fake." I smiled, though peace didn't fully reach me. Derek had lost his job, was drowning in debt, and now his reputation. A cornered animal grows dangerous. That night back at the motel, I received an email from an anonymous account. Old man, if you don't retract your accusations, you'll regret it. A friend of Derek. I printed it and filed it with the evidence. The slander had evolved into direct threats. I looked into the mirror. The silver-haired man stared back, face lined by time, eyes weary yet still sharp. I whispered, Eleanor, we're not finished. But this time, I'm not afraid. Thursday morning, I donned a gray coat and walked into Marion County Courthouse with my heavy leather case. Inside were all my records, the equity loan forgery, Bob Kennedy's statements, Tony's debt reports from Northwest Collections and the threatening emails, marble floors, high ceilings, sunlight through tall windows. It all reminded me of IRS days, filing audit reports, but today was different. Today I wasn't a retired clerk. I was a father defending legacy and name. At the clerk's desk, a middle-aged woman asked, Mr. Hale, what are you filing? My voice was firm. A restraining order and a financial fraud complaint. She lifted the thick stack, eyes widening. You came well prepared. I nodded. 30 years in audits taught me to document everything. Derek Walsh won't escape. 30 minutes later, I held a stamped notice, a preliminary hearing scheduled for next week. The sheriff will contact you to verify and serve the papers, she explained. I walked down the courthouse steps, feeling lighter. My phone rang. A familiar voice. Richard, it's Sheriff Collins. I remembered him from storm relief back in 2007. I just received the court order against Derek Walsh. Want me to stop by later today? I agreed. That afternoon, in my motel room, Sheriff Collins sat opposite me. Broad-shouldered, blue shirt, badge gleaming, he leafed through my files, nodding. When he reached the forged signature, he whistled. This is heavy. Financial fraud is a crime. If we find Derek's electronic trail, he's cornered. I pointed to the anonymous email. He's also threatening me. Collins frowned, jotting notes. Threatening a senior is an aggravating factor. My team will trace this. He looked up, steady. Don't worry. We'll serve the restraining order within 24 hours. After that, if he comes near you or your house, we'll arrest him. For the first time in weeks, I felt a wall of law at my back. When Collins left, I stood by the window, watching patrol lights glow outside. Eleanor's voice echoed in my mind. You're doing right. Don't let anyone trample us. That night, I slept soundly. But the morning brought consequences. Amanda called, her voice panicked. Dad, the sheriff came. They served Derek with papers, warned he could be arrested. Dad, I can't stand it. Neighbors stare at me like a criminal. I answered calmly, Amanda, this is the result of the path you chose with Derek. I don't want to shame you, but if you stay by his side, you'll sink with him. She sobbed. Dad, I don't know what to do. I said nothing more, ending the call. By noon, Collins called again. Richard, we served the order. Derek raged, smashed a chair on the porch, but didn't resist. He's ranting online again. My advice, let him. Every post just strips his credibility further. I exhaled. Thank you, Sheriff. I've waited for this day. That afternoon, I returned to Ani's cafe, eyes turned, but no suspicion this time. The old man with the beard nodded. Heard the court stepped in. Good. Salem needs justice. I only smiled, sipping my coffee. Deep inside, I knew the battle wasn't finished. Derek could still lash out, and Amanda was still tangled in his lies. But at last, I wasn't a lone man in a motel. I had the law behind me, and Derek knew this time he had no escape. Saturday night, rain hammered the tin roof of Silver Fir Lodge, each drop pounding like a fist from fate. I was at the desk, reviewing files for the upcoming hearing, when a violent pounding shook the door. Not knocking, pounding. I froze, peering through the curtain. In the yellow hall light stood Derek, raincoat soaked, eyes bloodshot. He slammed the door with his fist, shouting, Richard! Open up! You sued me? You cost me my job? My heart raced. This was what Sheriff Collins had warned. Cornered men grow reckless. I didn't open. I dialed Collins. He's here, I whispered. Derek's at my door. Collins' voice was firm. Lock it. Stay back. Patrol will be there in 5 minutes. But 5 minutes felt like a century. Derek kept raging, his voice ragged through the storm. You destroyed my life. Amanda's pregnant and you don't care. You want me dead in the street? His boot slammed the door, hinges groaning close to breaking. I backed to the corner, clutching my phone. In my mind, Eleanor's eyes appeared, worried yet firm. Richard, don't back down. You've endured enough. The door burst inward, Derek's bulk filling the frame, reeking of booze and smoke. I raised my hand. Derek, stop! You're violating the order. The sheriff's coming. He laughed darkly. Sheriff? I don't care. We're the family, not you. You're just a wallet gone dry. Then I saw a metal flash in his hand. Not a gun, but a folding knife. Cold sweat coursed down my spine. My heart thudded against my ribs. Just then, red and blue lights flared outside. Sirens screamed. Collins and 2 deputies stormed in. Derek Walsh, drop the knife. Step back now. Collins' voice cracked like thunder. Derek snarled, You have no right. This is family business. A deputy's gun was out, flashlight blazing. Drop it, or we fire. Derek froze, then let the knife fall. The officers lunged, slamming him down, cuffing him as he howled. Old bastard! You'll pay. Amanda will never forgive you. Shaking, I leaned against the wall. Collins put a hand on my shoulder. You're safe, Richard. He'll spend the night in custody. We'll add assault and restraining order violations. This isn't family drama anymore. This is crime. I nodded, throat tight. As they dragged Derek into the rain, my chest ached. Relief washed over me, but so did pain. Amanda, how would she feel seeing her husband cuffed under floodlights? Would she awaken or harden her hatred? Colin's voice grounded me. You did right. Don't let guilt fool you. You may have saved yourself, and maybe your daughter, from a dangerous man. I sat on the bed, hands covering my face. Derek's scream echoed, Amanda will never forgive you. I knew the battle wasn't over, but tonight, for the first time, Derek paid a real price for his recklessness and greed. Sunday dawned bright over Salem, the sun glittering on. Puddles down Commercial Street. At the motel window, coffee in hand, I replayed Derek's arrest in my mind. His words haunted me. Amanda will never forgive you. My phone rang. Amanda. I inhaled, then answered. Her voice was hoarse. Dad, I need to see you. I paused. Main Street Diner, 2:00, alone. She hesitated, then agreed. That afternoon I arrived early, sitting by the window where Eleanor once smiled over apple pie. Amanda entered before the hour. Gray sweater, swollen eyes, weary frame. I glimpsed the little girl she'd been. She sat, gripping her glass. Dad, Derek's in jail. The neighborhood knows. I can't take it anymore. I nodded softly. Now you see the truth. This isn't me ruining your life. Derek ruined it himself. She wept, voice breaking. But I trusted him. I thought he just needed time. I thought you were too harsh. Now it's all collapsed. He's in debt everywhere and he forged papers. Dad, how could I be so blind? I let her cry, my own chest heavy yet lightened. At last I said, Amanda, I forgave you long ago. But forgiveness doesn't mean instant trust. Trust must be rebuilt with truth and actions. She nodded through tears. I understand. I want to start over, Dad. I don't want to live in lies. I called a lawyer this morning. I'm filing for divorce. My heart clenched, but a spark of hope flickered. That's the first step. Hard, but necessary. She wiped her cheeks, eyes steadier. I don't know the future, but I don't want to lose you. I've hurt you too much already. I squeezed her hand. I lost your mother. I won't lose you. But know this. I rewrote my will. Fairmount House is no longer ours. It goes to the Veterans Housing Trust. That decision stands. If we heal, it will be on love, not money. Amanda trembled, then whispered, I don't want the house. I just want my father back. Around us, diners watched in silence. As she left, strangers nodded, some touching my shoulder. You did right, Richard. She'll find her way back. That night, at the motel, I typed in my journal. April 21st. Amanda finally sees the truth. She says she'll divorce Derek. Start fresh. I don't know if she's strong enough, but for the first time in years, I feel hope. Hope that father and daughter might survive this storm of lies. I closed the laptop, sitting in the quiet. Outside, rain began again, but softer. Not cold this time, cleansing, washing illusions away. Inside me, a small candle burned. Not quite dawn, but no longer night. Sunday, St. Mark's Church was fuller than usual. Rumors about Derek's arrest, my lawsuit, and his $50,000 debt had spread through Salem. People came not just to pray, but to hear what would be said publicly. I sat in the third pew, heart heavy. Amanda sat at the back, head bowed, hair draped to hide half her face. Pastor Williams stepped to the pulpit, voice calm and deep. Today we have a special testimony. Sometimes confession is stronger than any sermon. He gestured to Amanda. Slowly she rose, walking the aisle in silence, her shoes tapping softly against the floor. At the front, she clutched the wooden edge, eyes sweeping across the congregation. I know you've all heard rumors, but today I must tell the truth. The truth about my father, about Derek, and about myself. Her voice cracked and then steadied. For 6 years, my father, Richard Hale, paid for everything. $160,000 in tuition, $35,000 for a wedding, $100,000 for the down payment on our house, and each month, $1,200 for mortgage, $300 for utilities, and $500 for groceries. He gave up his retirement savings so we could live comfortably, and we repaid him with ingratitude and cruelty. Worse, we forced him to choose between servitude in his own home or exile. Murmurs broke out, jaws dropped. Amanda pressed on. I chose wrong. I believed Derek instead of my father. I let him manipulate me, smear the man who raised me. Derek wasn't just ungrateful. He was drowning in debt, gambling, and even forging documents to steal my father's home. He was arrested for violating a restraining order. And now, I have no reason left to hide the truth. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She turned toward me. Dad, I'm sorry. Words aren't enough, but I want to start again. I've filed for divorce. I no longer stand with Derek. I want to stand with you, if you'll give me that chance. The sanctuary held its breath, then erupted. Applause echoed, and some wept openly. Pastor Williams placed a hand on her shoulder. Courage isn't the absence of mistakes. Courage is rising, admitting, and choosing the right path. Today you chose rightly. My vision blurred. Months of shadows melted like fog in sunlight. Amanda stepped down, knelt before me in the aisle, clutching me tight. Dad, I hurt you too much, but I won't let Derek define me anymore. I'll prove I can be different. My voice shook. Amanda, I forgave long ago. Trust must be rebuilt, but today you took the first step. The congregation rose, applause filling the old church. I lifted my eyes to stained glass casting light over us like a blessing. For the first time in years, no fear, no bitterness, only a fragile but real hope that father and daughter could survive hell together. Leaving the church, neighbors clasped my hand. You taught us patience and dignity. You showed that boundaries protect what's right. I smiled faintly, squeezing Amanda's trembling hand. She still wept, but light burned in her eyes. It wasn't the end, but it was a beginning. 3 months later, a summer morning found me before the old Fairmount Hill house, once our battlefield. Now a new sign hung. Marion Veterans Housing Project. Transitional homes for veterans. Fresh paint on the fence, trimmed, lawns, laughter in the yard. Young veterans guided children through the gate. Wives carried baskets, hope shining in their faces. I stood still, peace flooding me. The house Derek once sought as plunder now sheltered those who understood sacrifice. A young sergeant shook my hand. "Mr. Hale, thank you. We'll honor this gift." My voice wavered but held. This house held memories of me and Eleanor. Now it will create new ones for families who deserve them. Children's laughter rang with birdsong. For the first time, no Derek slouched in Eleanor's chair, no Amanda delivering ultimatums. Only life renewed. Justice came too. The Marion County Court ruled Derek guilty of financial fraud, forgery on the loan papers, violating the restraining order, and threatening with a weapon that rainy night at Silver Fir Lodge. Sentence: 4 years in Oregon State Correctional Facility, plus restitution of legal costs. I sat in the courtroom, hearing the gavel strike, feeling bittersweet relief. Amanda was there, not beside Derek, but beside truth. She testified to his threats and manipulation. When guards cuffed him, his eyes still burned with hate, but for the first time, I saw him powerless. No refuge, no leverage. Justice had spoken. That evening, I returned to a small cabin by Detroit Lake, my new beginning. 2 bedrooms, brown wood roof, porch facing the water. I set coffee on the table, opened windows to the pine breeze. Outside, my old fishing boat bobbed against the dock. My phone buzzed, a message from Amanda. "Dad, the divorce is final. I've joined counseling. I want to rebuild trust. Can we have coffee together this Saturday?" My hand trembled as I typed, "I'll be there. 1 step at a time, daughter." Setting the phone down, I watched sunset blaze orange across the lake. I thought I heard Eleanor's voice. "You did right. You kept our dignity, and you gave our daughter a second chance." I smiled, peace settling in. This story began with an ultimatum: obey or leave. I chose to leave and discovered it wasn't a loss, but the only way to keep honor. From a father exiled from his own house, I became a man who knew how to say enough, how to give legacy to the worthy, and how to draw boundaries so love could live again. Night fell, moonlight shimmering on the lake. I sipped coffee, whispering, "Eleanor, we made it. Not perfect, but just." For the first time in years, I was free. And somewhere in that silver glow, I believed Amanda would one day sit beside me. Not as a manipulated daughter, but as a woman who knew the value of truth and of her father's love. That is the true legacy I leave. Not the house, not the money, but dignity and the strength to stand in storms. If you've stayed with me to this moment, I thank you. Please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support is what keeps these stories alive. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.